Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in. So with us today, I have Amy, who's a long-term friend of mine. Amy and her husband go on date night every single week. And so what we're gonna do for Amy today is show her how to do a natural look, but something that's also elevated for date night. Amy is happily proud, 50 years old. Her skin is a little bit more on the normal to dry side of things, so we are going to make sure she's hydrated. We're going to use more of a sheer coverage foundation because her skin is very beautiful and even, but we just want to make sure that we elevate her look, so stay tuned. So we're going to start with a moisturizer for Amy. I put a little bit on the back of my hand, and I am going to use a sponge to apply this. If you're at home, you can just apply it with your fingers. And the first key with mature skin is making sure that the skin is properly hydrated. You just want to make sure that skincare is at the top of your priority with things because it helps everything else to lay so much more smoothly. We are using a moisturizer by Shiseido. Shiseido is one of my favorite brands. So we're gonna start with a moisturizer, and then I'm gonna go in with a little bit of an eye cream. Eye cream, I would say between eye cream and serums, those are the most important things because the skin underneath the eye is super thin. So you wanna make sure again, that area is properly hydrated. So you'll notice that that is a theme with mature skin, is just making sure that the skin is hydrated very, very well. We are using a caffeine-based eye cream for Amy today. The idea, in my opinion, is as you get older, you want to make the skincare do most of the work for you. Less makeup, more skincare. Now her skin feels nice and hydrated. And then one of my favorite products is a Caudalie Beauty Elixir, and I'm going to go in for this with for a little bit more extra hydration. And close your eyes. And then I'm just going to press it into the skin to ensure that we don't have any excess moisturizer to where the foundation would potentially catch. Since Amy is a minimalist as it relates to makeup, I am going to do, I call this the Everyday Woman's Eyeshadow. And this is an eyeshadow pencil. So what you're able to do with it is you're literally able to put it on your eyelid and smudge it out a little bit, and it's going to give you the look as if you did an entire eye look. So we're going to go in with the eyes, and I'm going to apply this color right at the base of the lash line. And this is kind of like a smoky taupe color. And it does have a little bit of shimmer to it. Now what I would say is that if you are at home, you would then take your ring finger and blend it out. So I am going to use a blending brush. And I'm going to start at the base of her lash line, and I'm just going to slightly blend up. And you can see that she naturally now has a little bit of a smoky eye going on. And what I love about this stick eyeshadow is that it's very creamy so that it doesn't pull or create any excess texture on the eyelid. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes, and this is a suede palette. I love this because the colors in this are very natural, very everyday, very wearable. And I am going to go in with this color here. And I am going to apply it right over top of the eyeshadow stick that we just applied. The next what I'm going to do is I am going to take a blending brush. Now a blending brush is going to be your best friend because you never want to have any harsh edges when you are doing your makeup. And so since we want to keep this very clean and very natural looking, I'm next going to go in with a brown eyeliner. Close your eyes. And what I love about this eyeliner is that It is very, very soft, but it's waterproof. So it's going to stay on all day, but it glides across her eye very, very easily. And then next, what I'm going to do for Amy is I'm going to do a technique which is called tight lining, which I line the inside of her lash line. And what this is going to do, this is going to create the illusion that her lash line is much fuller than what it actually is. So again, right at her lash line. Now, open and look down to the ground for me. One of the keys with eyeliner is to make sure you're applying the pencil directly in the lash line. So instead of trying to draw one steady line, you want to go right in your lash line and do little short strokes. So next, what we are going to do is we are going to smudge out this liner with more of a matte eyeshadow. I am going to go in with a dark chocolate brown, and then we're going to put this right at the base of the lash line. And then I'm using more of a smudging brush. And the reason why I'm using a smudging brush is because it's going to give her eyeliner more of a softer effect. Now what we are going to do is we're going to do a little bit of liner on the bottom for Amy. However, we are only going to use shadow on the bottom again so that it has more of a softer effect. So what I'm actually going to do is, because I don't want it to look too harsh, I'm actually going to go in kind of with this taupe color first, and then I'm going to mix it in just a little bit with the brown. And one thing you want to remember about your color placement is where you place the brush first is where you're going to have the most pigment. So I'm starting with the outside corner of her eyes. That way I can bring it in and there aren't any harsh lines in the middle of the eye area. Now when I apply mascara, I like to start at the top part of the lashes and roll the brush down and then apply it from underneath. Now I'm using a disposable wand right now for sanitary reasons. Look down. So I am going to slightly lift up her eyelid and I'm just going to roll the mascara down. And when you do this, this allows the lashes to really be coated and get really, really dark. Now you can either choose to do your eyes first or you can do your eyes last. It really depends on what type of colors you're using. So if you're using darker colors, sometimes it's easier to start with the eyes first. That way, if you have any little bit of fallout or if you make a mistake, you're able to clean it up without having to go back in a second time and fixing your concealer. So we today are going to do Sheer Glow Foundation on Amy. And the reason why we're going to do Sheer Glow Foundation on Amy is because, again, her skin is very even. What we want to do is just make it look more flawless. So this is going to be a medium coverage foundation, and it has vitamin C and turmeric. So I always tell people this foundation is not only good for your skin, it looks good on your skin. And we only need a very, very little bit of this. And I wet my beauty blender first with the same skincare spray that we used to hydrate her skin in the beginning. And I'm starting in the area where she has the most discoloration, where most of us have the most discoloration, which is the center part of the face. And with starting in the center part of the face and working your way out, then you ensure that you don't have too much makeup over the entire face, which again goes back to keeping everything very natural and very skin-like. Something else that's very unique about this foundation is that you can actually apply it with your fingers. Now, if you apply it with your fingers, it's going to give the skin more of a lived-in look as opposed to a makeup look. One of the perks to using your fingers with foundation is that you'll notice that you use less product. You want to be sure to bring the foundation all the way back to the ears so that way you don't have any lines, and make sure you bring it along your jawline too. The next what we're gonna do is the Radiant Creamy Concealer from NARS. I absolutely love this concealer. It's a cult favorite, #1 selling concealer in the US. And I love this concealer because it looks so flawless on any part of the face and underneath the eyes, and it doesn't accentuate any sort of texture at all whatsoever. So I'm gonna use a little mini beauty blender for this one. And look up for me. And then I don't personally love to use a brow highlight color anymore, but what I do like to do is the remnants of whatever's left of the concealer, I do like to take it and go underneath the brow area for a flawless look and to make everything look very cohesive. Now, because Amy's skin is a little bit more on the normal to dry side, we are actually not going to set her under eye, and we're not going to set her foundation with any powder, as to keep it very skin-like. With a brow gel, a clear brow gel, to lay her brows down now that we have the foundation in order. Another reason why I love this palette that we used on her eyes is that this can also be used on her brows. So what I'm going to do is, similar to what we did for her eyeliner on the bottom, we are also going to use that to fill in her brows on the top. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a couple dabs of the taupe color and then just a hair of this chocolate color. And what I'm going to do is just ever so slightly fill in some of these sparse areas. And with your brows, less is more. You can always add product, you can never take it away. It's a pain to have to try to wipe off what you just put on, especially as it relates to makeup. So always start with less and then build from there. And then another tip, when filling in your brows at home, the wider mirror is better than a closer mirror, because sometimes when you are using a closer mirror, you'll have a tendency to make your brows a little bit too aggressive because you're so close in the mirror and you aren't seeing it from far away. So making sure that you're using more of a wider mirror to get more of the accurate representation of how you're going to be seen. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in with a liquid blush for Amy. Again, because Amy's skin is a little bit more on the normal to dry side, I want to make sure that we don't pick up any texture. And liquid blush is one of my favorite products for mature skin, truthfully for anyone, because it looks so flattering on the skin and it gives you more of a lived-in blush look as opposed to a very structured blush look. Now I'm going to use an angled brush, and I have a little bit of the product on the back of my hand, and I'm just going to get just a little bit on the tips of the brush because this blush is very, very pigmented. I'm going to have you smile just slightly, and I am going to start with the blush just on a full part of her cheeks and turn your face to the side. Perfect. And again, remember, wherever you first place your brush, that's where you're going to deposit the most color. And look at how beautiful that is. It's like ever so slight, but just enough color. And especially with blush, remember my technique of less is more. So you want to start off with the least amount of product as possible, and then build if you need to. And then next, what we are going to do is we're going to go in with a little bit of bronzer. Just turn your face, just to create a little bit of some shadow. Creating a shadow, so you want to think about from the top part of the ear underneath is where the shadow should be. And then just add a little bit in the hairline. And I prefer with bronzer a smaller brush. That way you can be very intentional with your color placement. And for her lips, we are going to do a gloss and we're going to do a pencil. But I'm actually going to go work backwards, and I'm going to do the gloss first. The reason why I'm going to do the gloss first is because I don't want her lip liner to have too structured of a look. I want it to have more of a lived-in look. So we're gonna start with the gloss first, and we're gonna start in the center part of her lips. And then we are going to go in with the pencil. And again, I love this pencil because it's very, very easy to use. And then I'm just gonna go back in with my gloss to blend any sort of lines that we may have. And then last but not least, I'm just gonna go in a little bit with my sponge. And then I'm gonna give her a final spray. Now this again is more of a hydrating spray. Close your eyes. And we are all finished. Thank you so much for tuning in. Feel free to shoot me an email if you have any questions or if you would like to schedule a one-on-one consultation for yourself.